and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I thought the groans struck on your side tonight. This is the Comic Book Chronicles. You can find I am your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. And your co-host with the most from the North Coast, one agent _70 on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads.
What's up, everybody? Coming to you, recording live and direct. Now, normally I would say I'm recording to you from the County of Kings, but today is September 12th, and we observe a solemn occasion, a solemn memory. Yesterday, September 11th. So at times like this, I represent New York City as a whole. So, shout out. Right. I'm talking over just in case.
I think you were still good, but yeah.
Just in case.
I did have a stream a couple of days ago where it was like, oh, we know that you played a lot of this, even though you tried to sneak and play it low and talk over it. I'm like, oh, okay, good to know. But yeah, this is the Comic Book Chronicles. You can find said podcast on the Cold Slither Podcast Network. That's cspn.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes. I said Google Play and scratch that, but whatever. And the Cold Slither Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that helps people find our show.
You heard. Yeah, we also record every Thursday night, like we are tonight. If you're catching the audio version, even if you're catching the video version, on the YouTube channel of The Kliq Nation. That's youtube.com/TheKliqNation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Again, please click like, subscribe, hit that notification button so you know when we are on live and direct, especially like we are right now.
So we are going to have a couple of moments of silence tonight, but I'm just going to say right off the bat that, which is slightly outside of the purview of the program. Hey, the Sega Dreamcast turned 25 a couple of days ago, so happy 25th anniversary to that, Jim. And also tonight as we're recording a game that was, well, I'm gonna say similar on that one because it went to a lot of public consoles all the time. But there was a game that was struck in that era that had a collection that came out this today. So it's been an interesting week in a couple of different reasons, as you'll find out during the course of the show. But we're going to start off with we're going to start off with a little spoiler-free talk on Rings of Power, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power to be specific, episode 5 from this season, which is number 2. Unfortunately, Agent 70 has not been able to watch it yet, so I can't get to the stuff that I want to get to, which is just because like I don't want to spoil it for anybody because the thing just came out today.
Right. Much appreciated. And just very quickly, hold on to your thoughts. I wanted to mention that we are more than halfway through this season because it's only 8 episodes.
This is true.
More than halfway, which is nuts because they dropped 3 at once.
Was it? Oh yeah, they did.
First 3.
Yeah, you're right.
They dropped the first 3 at once, and now we're up to episode 5, and it seems like it just started coming out, but now we're already more than halfway through. Now, again, like I said, I didn't want to interrupt too badly, and hopefully you can pick up right where you left off.
No, I'm good because all I was gonna say is actually you gave me the header into it because things are heating up. I will say, uh, into this fifth episode because some let's just say things are coming together for uh for the thing you would expect, a couple of things you would expect um coming out of this on one respect. So I will say, hopefully this is not too much of a spoiler for 8 to 7, but I will just mention who we see in this episode, put it this way. So we get some more Numenor stuff. We get we get some more Celebrimbor, which sounds like a prescription you'd see on TV. Every time I hear dude's name.
It's such a musical name too.
Right.
Celebrimbor.
Right. It's just like it will cause headaches and
nausea.
And nausea, exactly. But we get some more stuff on I always keep wanting to call it E-region, but it's not. It's Region. I know that's what it's called. So we get some stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. So we get some stuff there. There's the Numenor stuff, and that's pretty much the two. We get a little bit of sorry. We also get some what's the dwarf place?
Khazad-dûm.
Khazad-dûm, yes. I almost called it Cousin Doom.
Khazad-dûm.
Yes.
You'd be pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah. Because every time I hear it, that's what I said. But yeah, so we definitely get some Khazad-dûm stuff, and how all of that stuff is kind of playing out. Let's just say.
Right. Like if obviously if you watched Fellowship, right, and if you read Fellowship, then you know that the things for the dwarves at Khazad-dûm do not end well. But it's almost sad to see how what they were going through right before it went south.
And I'm just going to say that you will see shades of how that gets started in this episode.
I figured, because you remember what Gandalf said, that they disturbed something, they dug too deep and they disturbed something. And we all know what they disturb because we see it in Fellowship. But yeah.
Yeah, keep that in mind. That's all I'm going to say. Just keep that in mind. But outside of that, I took notes while I was watching it because I was like, I want to make sure I hit some points just in case you did watch it. But there was some stuff in here I could say without spoiling anything.
Sure, go ahead.
I will say that speaking of the dwarves, there is a thing, and the Fellowship of the Ring. There is a thing that shows up here that I'm sure you will be happy to see, and also sad to see.
Aww.
That's probably as vague as I can put it without saying the words that I want to say.
Sure.
Also, somewhat in relation to the dwarfs, someone says the thing. A particular sentence that was said in Fellowship.
Okay.
Actually, two particular sentences, actually, but one specifically to the dwarf. Outside of that, stuff comes back to bite folks, and things just kind of start to snowball from here, and you see the kind of the machinations start to gel in this episode. And like I said, all outside of that, it was a great episode. I enjoyed the episode, especially for the couple of things that got the couple of references that got brought up, and the fact that it's like, yeah, there's some 4D chess coming together in this joint. So right. And some people are starting to get things. So, but that's all I'm going to say, because like I said, if I go too much farther, I will definitely spoil some stuff. But it is, I think it's a very good. I thought it was a pretty good episode going into the rest of the season.
Right. So very quickly, we can chat about last week's episode, even though it's only been a week. We're not going to spoil too much. Since I watched last week's episode after last week's show recorded, I'll say that Roddykat messaged me to ask me to tell him when I finally got around to watching it, and all I had to text were 2 words, and Roddykat absolutely understood that I had just watched the episode.
Yeah, and I almost messaged you back about something else in there, but I was like, is he in the middle of watching it, or did he actually finish watching it? Because there was something else I was going to mention after you
Right.
said that, but I
Right.
was like, yep,
Two
he actually
words,
was watching it.
and that it made me very happy as a fan of the original trilogy and the original trilogy of books. So very 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 happy to see that. It was a surprise because it's not something that we understood. It's definitely something that takes creative liberties with putting this particular character in this particular venue, in this particular milieu, even right in this era. So and I'm referring to the character who refers to himself as the eldest, and that's a big clue.
Yeah,
So
which, as I said last week, was the name, the title of the episode.
right. So ultimately, you get a lot of, the last episode was a great way to tie a lot of things together from the multiple stories that we've been told so far on screen, that being the Hobbit and the Fellowship of the Ring. So, the Lord of the Rings, obviously, but I think of the Fellowship of the Ring specifically because
Right.
that's the first of the trilogy, and a lot of the stuff that comes out of that happens in that first book is stuff that we see the precursors of in this series.
And actually, tied to, if I'm not mistaken, Two Towers. So, because and that part made me happy. So I'm so speaking of the Ents.
Oh yes, the Entwives. We found
Yes.
out where the Entwives were, or at least
Hmm.
we find out where they were. We don't know what happens to them though.
Right. So I was very happy because Ents. I don't know why, but I love Ents as a fantasy creature so much. So when they popped up, I was like, oh shit, Entwives. So yes, great. This was awesome. So yeah, so yes, the unexpected person that shows up from last week, who I'm sure we will see again, and the Ents that I just mentioned were highlights of last week's episode. And it's like, I wish I could have told, I could have
Yeah,
said something
I've got to
then.
get better about trying to get on top of the current episode of Rings of Power. It threw me a little bit that it was not available yesterday, and
Right.
or like late last night, and then today I just didn't have an opportunity to watch it. So hopefully next Thursday I'll make time, even if it's over like lunch, to try to catch as much of it as possible and try to finish it when I'm home.
Right. So we talked about it before the show because, like, just like I said last week, and that was the case. I'm not crazy, but when I was watching the show last week, there was when you pull up the thing on Amazon, it was like new shows, on Wednesday, and
Right.
then looking at the show this week, it said new show on Thursday. So either that was a typo last week or something happened, but it was definitely on the site as what it was when I said it was. So it was kind of weird. And I don't think they're doing like a back and forth days thing because that's kind of crazy one way or the other.
Yeah.
So I don't know. At this point, as far as we're concerned and we care. Well, as far as we know and concerned, it's all on Thursdays. So which is another reason why we're not spoiling it now because it just came out the day we're recording. So we weren't gonna really spoil too much on air.
Right.
We probably would have talked about it a little bit more off air because, like I said,
Right.
my notes. I have well, one particular thing almost highlighted in notes, but I'll bring that up after. He'll know what it is, and I know he'll bring it up, just like he did the other thing.
Yeah.
Because I know for a fact you will not miss this one.
Right.
But anyway, like I said before.
Understood.
Yeah, so that's that. Look, I thought it was a good episode. I'm sure Agent 70 will find some goodness in it for, at the very least, that part, and a couple other things that pop up. So yeah, I'm kind of sad that it's only 8 episodes, but at the same time, the shows are packed enough to where it doesn't really, it's not a bad thing because, like I said, all of the episodes so far have been an hour plus.
Sure.
So that's a good media episode, and probably for what they're paying for it, should better be.
Yeah.
So, that being the case, we are going to move on to the books of the week, and I should have had the covers up. But we're going to start off with Teenage Turtles #2.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #2 is written by Jason Aaron with art by Raphael Albuquerque. He didn't make a left turn there. Colors by Marvello Maiolo and letters by Sean Lee. So Jason Aaron is taking his time reintroducing us to the Turtles and establishing their current whereabouts and their current status quos in the wake of the most recent events of the comic book run. This is not a brand new, fresh start in the sense that they're all starting off without anything carrying over from the previous run. But at the same time, this is very much new reader friendly, introducing us to what makes each turtle special and what makes each turtle story special with regards to where they are right now. It's where they are right now is the important part of these first two stories, and it'll be that for the next two probably as well,
Yes.
because each of them are in very different places than what we're accustomed to. And with that, I'll hand it off to Roddykat.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure either Jason Aaron or whatever articles we've talked about before this came out was basically saying, yeah, each one is going to focus on each of the turtles, that is definitely the case. I guess my question is, do we actually know if this is taking up after because as far as I know I hadn't read it and don't think you read any of that last series, so I don't know if this is actually taken up after that or whatever's going on here. We will find out what caused.
It's a little bit of both.
Okay.
It's a little bit of both. I'm presuming that from what I remember from the news stories that we did is that everything that happened before happened, and something else happened to create the current story that he's telling.
Okay. So, because like I said, not being familiar with what happened in that last run is like, okay, well, we know something happened, but is that what's causing, why they are in the position they are, or in the positions they are in now, or is something that we just haven't seen yet? Because it's not like this is the first time a story has done something like that. Like, I don't know, there's a thing happening, and we're all in different places and whatnot, and we'll get to that at some point.
Right.
But I thought this was an interesting story. This one is focusing on Michelangelo. I guess he's the littlest brother.
Right. It's the one portrayed to be like kind of the youngest at heart, at least.
Yeah, but I think I've also seen him. Well, they call him little brother in here, but there's also I feel like I've seen other places where they call him little brother also because that is the way he acts, even if he is not.
Right. Exactly. So that's why I phrased it the way I did. He may very well not be young in the sense that I don't think they each know how old they are or when, like what birth order they are. They I don't know if that's ever been established, but he's the one that's portrayed as being youngest at heart. So
right, because usually Leo's the leader and he's as portrayed as the oldest because of that, but we don't necessarily know in relation to any of them that order. I'm sure somebody would be like, no, it's just like this because that came out in something a few years ago and blah 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 blah. It's like, we don't know. That's what I'm saying. But yeah, like I said, I thought it was interesting because it was like,
he's always been the party dude. If you all you knew about Turtles was the animated show,
and they kind of do a little play on that with this story, in where they have them. Again, this is kind of one of those things where, okay, in this world, I didn't think that was a thing in this world, but at the same time, if it is indeed taken up off of some stuff from the last volume, which I know there was a lot of mutants are out in a thing, and they even have their own towns or whatnot, or a town or whatever the case may be. But so that probably is playing into that. But where we see Mikey now kind of fits in relation to everything and things about him, but also there's a little bit more character study on him because like, well, hey, guess what? There's a little bit more to this dude than what we know as the party dude and whatnot. So I enjoyed it for that respect because it was like, okay, here's aspects of him, here's aspects of his weapon, they also, and here's his thought patterns on what people may think of him and the others think of him and whatnot. And then it gets into, the bit of the story that we're still getting bits and pieces of in that,
Right.
what's going against
Referring
them.
specifically to that, I wanted to mention that there's a little bit of inner monologue here from Michelangelo, and specifically regarding the learning of the use of the nunchaku.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We've all tried them. The second we saw Bruce Lee do that on TV, we were like, I want a pair, even if it's a practice pair, and we all beat the hell out of ourselves. Forget trying to beat the hell out of somebody else.
Mm-hmm. I still have a pair that a coworker gave me one time. It was one of his practice nunchucks. I never actually used them in the way that you're supposed to, but I still have them somewhere.
Right.
But yeah, that part was also interesting. So Jason and Eric kind of like, all right, you took the parts, and kind of flipped them a little bit, the more to add a little bit more to what people would expect if you, let's just say, if your interest to the Turtles was the '86 cartoon,
Right.
You kind of flesh them out to be a little bit more than that. I'm sure some of that again has come up in previous volumes or whatnot, so it's probably not the only thing, but this is his take on that.
Sure.
Also, I noticed felt like a little bit of Mortal Kombat Johnny Cage from Mikey in this particular thing, and not just because of what he's doing, but in kind of how he feels about some stuff and how he feels that people think about him, like something saying.
Yeah, I'm not all that familiar with Johnny Cage's psychology, so I'll take your word for it.
Right. Yeah, well, if you remember from the first Mortal Kombat is how he was portrayed there.
Oh, the movie?
Or that too, sure, yes.
Oh, no, I'd only ever played the video game, so.
Yeah. But either way, if you get your references from either way, he kind of comes off a certain way.
Sure.
And you could some of that feels like it kind of comes off here in that respect. I'm like, okay, I can kind of almost see it. It might not be the case, but that's just how I feel like I'm seeing it in reading this book. Overall, that being said, though, it was a good issue. I thought, and I'm definitely I don't know about Agent 70 going to at the very least stick it out for the end of this arc, which I
plan on it. I plan on it. I want to see the opening arc. I want to see what Aaron does with the Turtles.
Right, because we know they're going to get them all together. Well, they're going to do the profiles on them and get them all back together again, and especially with the troubles that are headed their way.
Right, and we did see an appearance by another turtle in this issue.
Yes, actually, well, technically all of them, but in a one way, shape, or fashion, definitely one.
Right,
of them
but an actual appearance, right? Exactly, I get that.
So, but yeah, so once it gets past that and get to the main, like, here's what we're doing with them, like that'll tell of whether I guess either one of us keeps up with this book or not.
Exactly.
That being said, the next book we are going to talk about is man, I should have took that sound bite from NBC. Actually, that wouldn't be from NBC, but that would be from
well, you know what? I have a soundbite for this specifically from the West Wing.
What's next?
Okay, not. I wasn't thinking about that one, but sure. That
oh, you weren't. Oh, okay. I wasn't sure what you might be referring to.
No, I was just thinking of Avengers Assemble.
Oh,
which is the next book we're talking about, Avengers Assemble number 1 of 5.
Alrighty, Avengers Assemble number 1 of 5 is written by Steve Orlando with pencils by Corey Smith, inks by Oren Jr. and Elisabetta D'Amico, colors are by Sonia Obach, and letters are by VC's Corey Petit. So if you were reading a Blood Hunt, you know that Cap put together a haphazard group of Avengers. And this mini-series was announced in the wake of that. And so we get to see the repurposing of Avengers Mansion from it formerly being a museum and tourist attraction back into an Avengers base. And we see the group that Captain America has assembled for this like strike team, as it were. And it's a nice little mix of people. and you get introduced to the first team that goes out on its first mission, and you get to see the next batch of recruits gathering in the situation room, as it were.
Hmm.
And there was a very interesting mix of first time Avengers and long time Avengers in that waiting area, basically, as like the second, as the not the bench warmers, but the players on the bench, as it were, waiting for their next assignment.
I call them the
And
reserves.
I guess because they're technically, there's some of them were just not the first ones to show, but I got a kick out of seeing them. I got a kick out of seeing some characters who hopefully will get some shine who haven't gotten some shine in a long time,
Right.
by being reintroduced in an Avengers book. Specifically some members of teams that have seen some exposure over the last several years, but not enough to maybe carry um, uh, additional stories involving them. So my hope is that putting them even in a short-lived Avengers series like this, maybe there'll be Avengers Assemble miniseries coming out of this. You never know. So the hope is that some of these characters who get more shine, get more exposure, and have more good stories told about them. Handing it off to Roddykat.
Yeah, I got a kick out of. So I'm gonna throw it back to 8 to 7 about something he mentioned before the show, but I wanted to mention the fact that Shang-Chi, who is in here, uh, made a statement about something in which you didn't think about it. At least I didn't think about it at the time, but something that ends up playing out with the group that ends up going out with Cap. Uh, he makes a statement about 4 being a small number or something like that. I can't remember. I was like, well, clearly he doesn't remember the Cap's Kooky Quartet.
Right.
And then the group then ends up being part of, I guess, a variation of a Kooky Quartet. Because let's face it, the ones that end up going out on the mission, is an interesting mix. And 3 of which who have led the Avengers before. So that's kind of amusing in its own right, which kind of plays out in a certain way.
Right.
During the course of this story. So I was like, oh, that was an interesting calculation of this one. And then, like Agent 70 said, on the outside of that, we see, like I said, the reserves getting together for a good old fashioned card game, thanks to Hawkeye, which is again that's an Avengers thing, and also in relation to being Grimm of the Fantastic Four thing at times. So that was also cool to see with
Right.
some folks.
One of the characters calls Hawkeye Mr. I, and
Yes.
I started laughing. I
Yeah.
very much started laughing. And I thought of friend of the show at Matt Wang 97 when another character unexpectedly is the one that introduces or reintroduces a clothing concept from the 90s Avengers.
Yes.
So I thought of at Matt Wang 97 when I saw this, because we knew it was coming. We did know it was coming. It was part of the solicitation materials that this was going to be a part of the concept of this miniseries, that this particular piece of clothing would make a reappearance in a different style, but since the 90s, to provide extra branding, as it were. So, or maybe I don't know, maybe not an action figure opportunity, but maybe just a clothing opportunity, some merchandising opportunity at the Disney store. Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe. And it just so happened to be that a 90s character was the one that brought it back into play. So it was just synergy all the way around. I actually wasn't expecting to see that dude. Especially after that last, especially after that last miniseries of his from a few months back, because there wasn't no implication that
no
something like that would happen.
Yeah.
Yes, that something like that would happen. So I was like, okay, and then you kind of forget, like, yeah, I guess they were kind of they weren't technically Avengers, but they were kind of adjacent, in training or something like that, as it were. But I kind of halfway expected to see a few more people from those Avengers, a couple more people from those Avengers issues, because we did see Hercules did show up, so he was one of them. But like folks like Hazmat and Kate Barton, Not Kate
Or
Barton.
Kate
Kate Bishop. Excuse me. Why I said Kate Barton?
Bishop. Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
Start with a B.
Yeah, basically.
What I was gonna say is, I think that was just like the teaser, you know, and
Perhaps.
those characters. It's not like those characters won't appear, but it doesn't seem likely in 5 issues that they're going to stray from the group that they've assembled here.
Right.
So,
There is a Hawkeye, so.
but there might be plans for those characters in other books, and that's why they couldn't get them.
Possible. But yeah, I thought it was a quite interesting issue. I said before the show to Agent 70. I don't know. There's part of me that kind of felt like they did Monica Rambeau's, aka Photon, and Jan Van Dyne, the Wasp, a little dirty in this one. One more actually than the other.
Yeah, quite literally.
Yeah. So
right. And I think one thing I mentioned in our pre-production meeting was that the voice of Shang-Chi seemed very much Simu Liu and not the Shang-Chi that we know from the 616.
Right.
So I felt that Steve Orlando's definitely MCU-ifying Shang-Chi, at least in this issue.
And it continues to be the parent, especially since he's got the reins with him. But that's been his thing for a recent time. So.
Right.
So that I feel like that is, yeah, that's definitely a thing. That's probably the case here. I was going to mention the Jarvis from Brooklyn thing, but I already mentioned it before the show. So there you go with that. There was a line from Hercules, and this will be the last thing I say before we push out of this, or one of the last things I say. But Hercules said a line to Wonder Man that, I guess, given knowing Hercules' status at this point, kind of makes it sound a little different, or maybe it's just my dirty mind. because Hercules says something about testing Simon's spine because he had him at basically a bear hug.
Oh, for God's sake, man! That's terrible.
Like, Herc?
I didn't go there. My brain didn't go there until just now.
I did. Hey, look. I would be the first one to admit. My mind's not always on the. Sometimes my mind works blue. All right, I admit that.
Just now.
I keep it down for the show, but I'm just saying sometimes it happens. But I saw it. I was like, Herc. Oh, okay. Calm down there.
Goodness gracious.
But that aside, so we get the appearance of a long-term society, snake-derived society that was in the background of this, who have some things going in the background while the main team's out on mission, and these other folks are playing cards that I'm sure we will see in the next issue, because they raise up a person that I know folks would love to be in the MCU after all the speculation, but has not happened yet. But
right, I'm like, so are and minor spoilers here. So are we just gonna expect a Ghost Rider appearance at some point?
I doubt it.
I'm just saying.
I mean, I can see where it could happen, but I doubt it.
Yeah.
So that would make some sense, but at the same time, not the first time the Avengers have been without a Ghost Rider going up against this person.
Right. So it'd be funny if that's how they get Robbie back.
Right. That'd be cool, actually. I would love to see that.
Since we haven't seen Robbie since whatchamacallit, since
Aaron's Avengers run, I think, right?
He was in a book recently. He was in a backup story. I think it was the Ghost Rider special or something.
Oh, the 50th anniversary thing or something?
Yeah, it was the 85th, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
85th anniversary. Yeah.
Yes, I had read that. I need to read that. But nevertheless, that is Avengers Assemble number 1 of 5. It looks interesting. It was an interesting start to this thing.
It'd be funny if we actually hit on that.
Right.
It would be very fun if we actually hit on that. It's like, oh, I wonder if this is how they bring Robbie back, and out of this weird tie-in to Blood Hunt,
right.
or spin off of Blood Hunt, right?
Right, and not the first, not the last spin off this week, even though we didn't read it, which was unexpected because Blood Hunters number 2 came out this week.
Right.
And I was like, wait, why did that need to come back out? Blunt Hurt is over with. Like, what are we doing here? But neither one of us got a chance to read it, so well, if there's anything out of that, then it is what it is.
Right.
But our last book that we have in common before we go into rapid fire is Fantastic Four number 25.
Fantastic Four number 25 is written by Ryan North with art by Carlos Gomez, colors by Jesus Bertov, and letters by our favorite lettering Python. Hardest working letterer over at Virtual Calligraphy, VC's Joe Caramagna. So I'm going to say this once again. I know I've said this for the last several months in talking about Ryan North's Fantastic Four. I love reading his Fantastic Four, not only because they're good stories, but very often I find myself feeling smarter when I'm reading them. Right. And obviously I remind myself to read more, prose, read more novels, read more nonfiction. I've got books loaded on my Kindle. I listen, considering what I do for a living, it's a wonder that I read anything for fun anytime, at any time. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I love comics because I definitely love the art, and I was definitely drawn to the art as a kid and as a young adult far more than I was to the story. But every once in a while, you run into a story that is just affecting, that is just it's engrossing. You become enamored with it, right? Anything else I can come up with an en to start, feel free to throw that in. But this particular story is told, the last several issues in this run were told from the perspective of Reed or from Alicia or from Johnny Storm. This one is told from the perspective of a character that the Fantastic Four meet. And it's so hard to spoil because the concept of this is so wacky. It's so wacky, but it's definitely something that could only be thought up by one Dr. Victor Von Doom, right? And once that particular story mechanism is employed, the FF are basically literally sent off on an adventure to get back to Earth. Things happen, and like I said, everything that happens, it's very well told. It's it's emotional. It's it's a story that, like I said, made me feel smarter for reading it, and it's definitely a clear candidate for Click of the Week for me. I'll hand it off to Roddykat.
So this is where I have to admit that I'm going to have to go back and reread this because I did a little bit more than skim it. I did read it, but I didn't read it really thoroughly. So, but some of the parts that Agent 70 is talking about, I definitely did pick up on and got, because it was some of the stuff where I just actually stopped and read. It was like, huh, okay, this is okay, and we got this going on. We got a little love thing going on, and this and that and the other. So, but I'm definitely gonna have to go back and reread this this issue again.
Yeah, Ryan North's FF is not easily read quickly,
right?
For the most part. I can't say every issue is dense or filled with his own version of Hickman mumbo jumbo, right? Because I have a feeling that he's definitely doing some research to at least make it sound convincing, right? Like pseudoscience-y. That's Marvel is and all of comics are very famous for that. Creating pseudoscience to base itself in real science, but kind of go off into different tangents to make it sound like something is actually plausible, right? So I don't think this is something that I would ever want to skim. So but I get it though, because we're all under various time constraints.
Yeah, we had a lot of books to read. Well, we had a lot of books, and I didn't have a whole lot of time to read.
Yeah.
So, and there was a lot of books outside of what I did end up reading. There's a couple of I still hadn't gotten around to that, and a couple of them that Agent 70 did in that respect. But regardless, but yeah, he's right. This is a book that you kind of want to you don't want to. You want to take your time with, and there is not a lot. There are some stories that are kind of breezy, like book wise especially. There are some books that are fairly breezy to read. Like I could probably name off a couple right now, like Ultimate X-Men or
Right.
uh, I'm trying to think of something from this week. It was Transformers is relatively breezy.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that. Uh, and a few others, but not to belabor anything. But you you definitely want to take your time with Fantastic Four because it's definitely
specifically Ryan North's run.
Exactly. Because it is just a good read, and not necessarily as 70 said. So he's right in that respect, but it's definitely one you just want to kind of take your time with. That being said, hey, if you're watching the video version, you can see which you'll see a few different ones during the course of the talking. Greg Land's Godzilla cover. It's actually not a bad cover though.
Really?
Yeah, it's actually not a bad cover.
I picked up when I picked up my books last week, I picked up Mortal Thor, and I got the Godzilla variant. It's pretty cool. It's like this tiny little Thor about to swing Mjolnir at a very, very big Godzilla, and it was pretty fun.
I think I showed that when you were talking last week. Yeah, because there have been some Godzilla variant covers in the last for this month, I guess specifically. But you'll see some more later on tonight. I'll send this to you if you want to see it. But there's like a couple of good ones actually this week. Godzilla covers. But anyway, that is it for the books. We are going to get into rapid fire.
Alrighty, rapid fire time. Rapid fire review time, folks.
I ain't got time to bleed.
All right. Believe it or not, those are the 3 books we had in common because both of us have a whole bunch of other books that we read this week. First up for me is Amazing Spider-Man number 57. It's written by Zeb Wells. His run is coming to an end very soon. Pencils by John Romita Jr., inks by Scott Hanna, colors by Marcio Moniz, and letters by, again, our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna.
So before you get into that, I did actually skim this one also, but yeah, go ahead and do your thing.
Oh, I mean, I would always my want is to never spoil too much, just go very broad stroke. Sure. I will say that the end game, as it were, between Spidey and Tombstone seems to be approaching because there's a lot. There's some actual kind of like stereotypical plot points here that they try to that Wells tries to put in, getting people out undercover and certain ruses that they employ, but they don't go the right way because they never go the right way. And I was very unimpressed by that, but I know where he's going with this. He's trying to create a particular confrontation, and it's coming up. There's only 3 issues left in this run, so that's what this is all leading up to. Next up is Captain America number 13. It's written by J. Michael Straczynski with art by Carlos Magno, colors by Espen Grundetjern, and letters by our favorite lettering paisan again, VC's Joe Caramagna. So this is the end of this kind of strange changemaker arc in the Captain America book. And we know that it's not over. It's coming back at some point. It was just a kind of a strange temporary ending. Like the ending of the first chapter of this particular story arc. So, it left me wanting, but I'm sure there's more coming. Next up is Spider-Gwen, the Ghost Spider number 5. It's written by Stephanie Phillips with art by Paolo Villanelli, colors by Matt Miller, and letters by VC's Ariana Mar. I enjoyed this because we get to see more of what Gwen is dealing with in the 616. She's trying to figure out what or why some of these characters are going after her. She hasn't been in the 616 for that long. So ultimately, things are starting to come together. This is the 5th issue of this opening arc. So we'll see if this is a 6-issue story or a longer one, because it seems like there's they're leading up to confrontation and or reveal in the next issue. So I'm waiting to see what they do. Next up is Uncanny X-Men #2, is written by Gail Simone with art by David Marquez, colors by Matthew Wilson, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. So this is the rogue team, no pun intended, of X-Men that find themselves in and around New Orleans, and are confronted by a group of young people, not all mutants, surprisingly. And it's a lot of we meet, we fight, we realize we're not enemies, so we're trying to figure out what's going on. We also find out what may actually be going on at the Xavier school, right? It's now called the Gray Malkin prison or something like that, or the we're getting more info on that, and we're also introduced to probably the likely identity of that character, who is introduced here in this book as part of Charles Xavier's past. So that is probably going to play a part in this Uncanny X-Men story moving forward. And I believe last for me is Wolverine #1. This is the new ongoing Wolverine, not the Hickman Wolverine, which is kind of like an slightly out of continuity story. This Wolverine #1 is written by Saladin Ahmed with art by Martin Coccolo, colors by Brian Valenza, and letters by VC's Corey Petit. So this Wolverine is likely telling a story that predates what's going on in Uncanny X-Men just by a little bit, right? It's post Fall of Krakoa, right? Or what was the story called? I can't believe I've already forgotten
it. What's that?
The Fall of Krakoa, right? Or From the Ashes. Because this is in From the Ashes, right?
Yeah, this is From the Ashes. Yeah, I mean, Fall of Krakoa. That's pretty much it. I can't remember.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's all right. So basically between Fall of Krakoa and Rise from the Ashes, right? Wolverine finds himself in a bad place, and that's what this story is telling. Whereas in Uncanny X-Men, we've already seen Wolverine kind of reunited with some of his fellow X-Men, right? So that's where this Wolverine ongoing series seems to be starting. And that's it for me. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me just very quickly. It reintroduces a character from Wolverine's past, and it seems to give this character an enhancement, and something to do with a metal that does not like adamantium. Apparently, we'll see how all that goes. And that's it for me.
Interesting. Okay. First up for Joe Casey, art by Sebastian Perez, colors by Lorenzo Scaramella, and letters by Taylor Esposito. So, I can't remember if you were going to read this or not.
I don't intend to. Go on, spoil it.
Okay. Well, no, I mean, I wasn't gonna say too much, but basically, so we're still continuing the whole. Hey, Zorak's got a big plot going on. In fact, the plot ends up getting dealt with in this situation, but he has the kids held hostage because they ended up where he was, and even though Space Ghost told them not to, but they were, they were being kids and didn't think they were going to run into the trouble they did. So Space Ghost ends up being used in Zorak's plot for a minute until the most likely / unlikely source starts the rescue attempt and starts the ball rolling on that whole confrontation coming to an end, and it all gets settled with one of the kids making a heroic play that has them rethinking things coming out of the story. So we'll see how, even though we're 5 issues in, we already got this going now, and to what extent I guess we will find out next issue. Next up is Jonny Quest, number 2, written by Joe Casey. Oh wait, I'm sorry. I screwed up. I am so sorry. I apologize to the creative teams of both books. Because
Did you flip-flop them?
I certainly did. So Space Ghost. I'm just gonna flip back there real quick. Space Ghost was written by. I hate when I do that because they were close together and I looked at the wrong thing. But yeah, Space Ghost written by David Pepose, art by Jonathan Lau, colors by Andrew Dahlhaus, and letters, but is still by Taylor Esposito. So that was the only thing that has not changed out of that whole thing. Jonny Quest number 2's creative team, it was the aforementioned, written by Joe Casey, art by Sebastian Perez, colors by Lorenzo Scaramella, and letters by Taylor Esposito. Now then, a little bit of time travel going on here, as if you know anything about the character of Jonny Quest and his fam. This is a 1966 Hanna-Barbera cartoon, and they at the start of this was still in 1966 up until, well, excuse me, not even at the start of this, but in the Free Comic Book Days book that kicks this all off. But there's some time channel shenanigans that make them end up in the present day, and I mean present day as in 2024. As the year has been stated in here. And the title character meets his older self and who gives them the rundown on not necessarily any much, hey, this is what happens in the future type situations, even though a couple of things they did already find out about during the course of this and prior to. But like, hey, here's what's going on right now, as opposed to, what I'm dealing with and what we're going to end up having to deal with to get you back home type situations. And in that, they end up taking a road trip to get some help. And I found myself asking myself, was like, okay, we found out about what happened to a couple of characters already, or what happened to this other character who's front and center, and we found that out later on in this issue. We also find out that there's some history that we may or may not get to see play out. But who's to say they might bring it back up? Because if it goes the way I think it is, the character's not going to stay away, even though they did when asked for help in this particular issue. So I'm sure that'll come back up. And if you know anything about the Doctor Strange, not Doctor Strange, the Jonny Quest series, you know that there is one particular enemy that never stays down for long, and that is the enemy that they are going up against, or a version, and not even a version. It is the enemy, but I will say the ghost of their long running adversary of the series. Let's just say that they are dealing with in this particular arc of the story. So it's been good stuff so far, and I've been enjoying it. Like, it's an interesting take. I will say I wasn't sure what they were going to do. Now I'm not sure what they're going to do after this arc ends, but we'll see how that works out. Next book is, yes, this is going to be that moment, huh? Because so Transformers number 12. Written by Daniel Warren Johnson, art by George Corona, colors by Mike Spicer, and letters by Russ Wooten. Positional click of the week for me. I know Agent Sarah is probably going to read it. You might not want to look at my notes too closely. I see you. I see your.
It's highlighted.
Yes, I saw your highlighted over notes. So I maybe not look too close. Although I did keep it. It's relatively spoiler-free, but it's not. Yeah, you still probably don't want to, because I know you're going to read this at some point. But yeah, this is the end of the arc. Things kind of coming into this weren't looking too great for the Autobots, especially with what happened last issue with one of their crew dipping out from the scene. Uh, but I will say that, well, at the end of this arc, we are now at a place, going into the next arc, I guess. Let's just say that a decision was made for Optimus Prime that he did not willingly go into, but of course, Prime being himself, kind of course corrected that in only the way he could, and also showed why Optimus is a pretty boss character in this world. There's a lot of art going on in this particular issue, so look out for that. If you have read any of this book, especially with well, even with Daniel Warren Johnson doing the art himself, but there was there's still a lot of choices that's like just kind of pop out at you, and a lot of details going on in this joint. So it is still enjoyable, but yeah, at the end of this, we kind of get to a place that I'm not entirely sure where we're going to go next or what's next, but you can definitely see that, hey, there's some stuff coming, especially if you've been keeping up with other books like, say, Void Rivals.
Right. So next issue we see Snake Eyes. No, I'm kidding.
You know what? That would probably be something they would possibly do, is just like, hey, we're gonna sneak this in here. But yeah, they haven't. The G.I. Joe ties have been in this book, but has not been in the last 6 issues, I would say.
Right.
Or actually, I take that back. In the last probably 4 issues, I think there was a tease to something at some point, but I don't remember. Regardless, it has been all Transformers all the time, and things have been going on. And it's just a potential click of the week if I did not say that before, but I think I did. So yeah, I have been continuously enjoying this book, and I'm not sure if it's taking a break or. I know there's been some couple of these in this universe that is taking a break. I think Void was taking another month break. And I know G.I. Joe is coming in November, so I'm pretty sure that they might end up at some point moving out of the way for that. Especially with Destro and Scarlet, starting to wrap up. But we'll see. I don't know. Anyway, next up, wait, I did things all kind of out of order. That's amazing. How did I do that? But next book for me, which is a weird theme for this week, licensed things. Godzilla versus Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 2, number 5 of 5. Soundbite for that one. I mean, I could pull up with Godzilla, but we won't do that. Story by Cullen Bunn, art by Baldemar Rivas, colors by Andrew Dahlhaus, and letters by Johanna Natalie. So yeah, this is the last issue of this story, but it is definitely setting up another mini series coming out of this.
Another one?
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Goodness, make it a trilogy, right?
Yeah, that's definitely what it looks like here, because there's no way in the world it's just going to end the way it ends, and not be the case. Matter of fact, I think it does say to be extended, but I can't remember. But here's the finer points of this: kaiju powered Power Rangers, which, if you know anything about Power Rangers, there is always a dinosaur / monster thing, in a weird way, fighting the kaiju powered Psycho Rangers. Then on the other side of that, we have a bunch of Power Rangers who had their coins taken, but that's been rectified thanks to the White Tiger Ranger, or the White Ranger, excuse me, and Jet Jaguar. Astronema and Rita's partnership gets dissolved in this one. I don't mind spelling this one because I don't know. There's probably not too many people reading this anyway. Which ends up being the setup at the end after everything's all said and done, and the battle's won. Rita going off to find a partner more her speed, and in the vein of what we have seen in Marvel with the Council of Reeds and the Council of Dooms and the Council of Kings and all that, I think you pretty much get an idea who she's going to be partnering up with next based on what I just said, and that being Rita Repulsa. But yeah, interesting into that. But like I said, we know more coming. Last but not least, actually is still a licensed property, but like it was apparently mostly licensed stuff that I had this week. Star Wars number 50, which is the end of this particular volume, written by Charles Soule, art by Madabek Muzabekov, color artist Rochelle Rosenberg, and letters by BC's Clayton Cowles. So this one was a larger than normal book. In fact, I believe it was 50 pages, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow, for the 50th issue.
Yeah, I believe it was. I might be wrong. I'll have to check that in a second. But it was definitely more than 32. And I think it was more than 44 actually. So basically it was like not necessarily a look to the future, but it kind of it was still a story that was set in the quote unquote present day of this volume, which means it was still in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. But the start of this kind of jumped forward to before the sequels, excuse me. In that
so post Jedi.
Yes, in that we see the conceit of Jedi Master Luke talking to Ben Solo.
Oh wow!
Yes.
Wow.
But it was all in surface of yeah. but it's still Jedi Apprentice, Ben, and not what happens in the sequels. But the crux of it is like Luke's telling Ben a story that is still set in the course of this volume, but kind of deals with some stuff. And it was interesting story. Like I don't know if that's something for a last story. Is like, wait, that could have been interesting if things could have played out that way. But of course, being that the source materials are kind of run its course on already, and they can't really stray too far away from that. What happens in this book couldn't really play out the way it looked like it could have, and they definitely like, okay, here's how things are going to go, but sure, hold on, now we got to get rid of take all of that out of the equation and give it a swerve so that none of the canon is disturbed,
right?
But like I said, the premise of the story that was interesting. You get to see the funniest parts about it is that you get to see them go back to a prequel location, and one of the characters noting why a certain character knows as much as they do, who the one character who's been around this whole series who would know anything but either won't and can't say anything, ends up being slightly important in this particular case. But people are like, why does he even know all of this? There's no reason why he would know this. And then there's a little thing with this character and Lando that ends up going away, but turns out interesting. And all that's in service of the story that Luke is telling to Ben, which could have been an email by saying, this is, which also doesn't really plan out if again, you already know what happens in the sequels. But like I said, the whole story was in service of Luke trying to teach Ben a simple lesson into how to be. But like I said, we already know how that plays out. And that, folks, is it for me. Kliqs of the week.
Kliqs of the week.
Your potential?
Yeah. I definitely do. FF is almost clearly my pick, but I will say that Uncanny X-Men #2 was good.
Okay.
I actually enjoyed Spider-Gwen this month, and Turtles #2 is also good because I liked what Aaron is doing with exploring Michelangelo's current status quo. but I'm going to go with my initial reaction, my initial gut instinct, and that is Fantastic Four, number 25.
Okay.
That's my click of the week.
I'm sure I would probably be along those lines. And again, we'll see the Gradland Godzilla cover right there. For those watching the video version. For myself, FF definitely a strong pick as tends to be. Avengers Assemble actually is another one. I kind of enjoyed that whole situation. Well, most of that whole situation, like I said, despite what I said earlier, about how a couple of characters got done. Transformers definitely is up there, as it tends to be. And in fact, I am actually Space Ghost. Space Ghost was actually pretty good too. Jonny Quest was also good, but like I said, just yeah.
So I'm looking at this Greg Land cover, and I can't help but object because Galactus was post Godzilla. No offense, I love Godzilla. Love Godzilla. A fight, unless Galactus was at his weakest.
I was about to say, unless he was hungry and not really fighting at full strength, you can kind of see it, or maybe the power cosmic being used on Godzilla would make him stronger like the Hulk. Just saying.
I mean, that would be wild. Imagine he made Godzilla a herald of Galactus.
Yeah, that would be all kind of craziness.
I was about to say we should keep that story idea for ourselves and try to pitch that, right?
I was about to say we already put it out there, unless you want me to do something.
I know. We should pitch that.
But we didn't get to Ultimate Black Panther number 8. Didn't get to Blood Hunters number 2, like I said. Here's that Amazing Spider-Man cover with the Disney characters that I kind of enjoyed. But didn't get to Inquisitors this week also. But my pick, probably not that big of a surprise at all. Oh, didn't get to Vengeance of the Moon Knight this week also. That Phases of Moonlight book, right?
Yeah, I did.
So yeah, I'm not sure. There's part of me think that this week's Vengeance book might have something to do with that, but I'm not entirely sure. But I'm just going off the cover, so I don't know. Regardless, my click of the week is going to be Transformers number 12. Not a surprise.
Nice. Not a surprise at all.
The book is so fucking
good.
That's
I was gonna say that's a fun, Amazing Spider-Man variant with Hawkeye and Ant Duck or whatever.
Yeah. I enjoyed it.
That's pretty cool.
They're still doing a couple of those Disney ones with Amazing Spider-Man. I don't think I've been showing the ball, but a couple of the Godzilla ones was pretty good. The Cap one, you should check out the Cap Godzilla one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's kind of amusing.
Gotcha.
In fact, I thought I sent it to you, but I did not. So
I'll take a look. I'll take a look right now, because at least, thankfully, like if you're, it's not even a plug. Like if you look up the books on Comic List, they link to a site, Entertainment something or other, and you can see the covers.
A lot of times it's like Tifa or something, but yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But
that's where I am now. So I've just got to scroll to the Cap. So it's by Phil Noto.
Right.
That's interesting. All right, waiting for this to load up and take a look at this. Yeah, Tifa, Things from Another World. Oh no. Okay, like Phil Noto, I'm a fan. I've met you before. This conceptually does not work. It just doesn't. But anyway, but that's why I love the Thor one. The Thor one works conceptually, because you think of Thor, he's the god of thunder, right? He often gets called the puny god of thunder because he's always going up against these gods, literal gods who are demigods, who are much bigger stature than he is, right? So you have him, spinning Mjolnir against Godzilla, and he's just tiny. So
oh, there we go. For those watching the video version, here is the variant that he's speaking of.
The Thor one from last week, right?
Yes. So, all right, folks, that's that for For books of the week, we're going to get into the news section, but first, an ad read.
Our first ad read of the night is for Blue Apron's meal delivery service. Blue Apron, fresh ingredients and incredible recipes delivered weekly to your door. Skip the grocery store and make incredible meals at home with Blue Apron, always shipped free right to your home. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can get $30 off your first Blue Apron order. To place your first order with $30 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us, that's cspn.us, and click on the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Blue Apron link and sign up for your first order. Blue Apron through cspn.us. Do it today. Now we get into the news.
As we do about this time, first up, some very sad news and beginning of our moments of silence. James Earl Jones.
The first of our moments of silence, right?
Yeah, that's what I said. I thought, yeah.
The beginning of them. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah. James Earl Jones has passed away at age 93. Granted, man's had a long, distinguished life. So he's had a good run, but it's still sad. Of course, a lot of people and a lot of articles have been like the voice of Darth Vader, but the man has done other stuff also the voice of Mufasa from Lion King, and many other movies and shows and whatnot that he's done. But those are the ones that he's most noted for. I actually did not know he had voiced the Lion King in that first live action one from a couple of years ago. So, because I know he was pretty much hanging it up. And it was also weird because I remember we talked about it, the fact that he had signed over his voice rights to Disney for them to be able to, use the Vader voice. I can't remember, earlier this year or late last year, so one of the two. So that was kind of weird. So you kind of, knowing that, kind of wondering, like, well, was something going on, and he kind of knew that it was going on.
It's probably just planning ahead.
Yeah, or that, like I said, does necessarily not need to think about it. But also, man was 93, so come on.
Right. My guess is that he was planning ahead, and also, he, as much as he, was a stage actor, and he did multiple projects, and he was in so many different things. Everyone knows him as the voice of Darth Vader. That's going to be that's the role that will truly stand the test of time. Mm-hmm. So,
or King Jaffa from Coming to America.
Yeah, but in the sense that they're recording his voice to use in like AI reproduced dialogue, it makes sense that that he would want to participate in that.
Oh wow. Or at the very least, let the voice live on. Yeah, I don't know about participating in it.
Well, I mean, participate in the sense that he's signing the contract.
Right. And also, I know they've had other people doing the Darth Vader voice, but let's face it, that is the one. Right. So, but yeah,
contracts are not being signed, right?
Yeah. Next up,
Lucasfilm is being sued for recreating the actor Peter Cushing's Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. And we all kind of thought it was a little wonky to see. But yeah, apparently, as reported, a friend of Cushing has alleged Disney did not have permission to recreate the actor's image with special effects for Rogue One. Disney tried and failed to have the case dismissed for a second time on September 9th, 2024. So apparently, this is a plaintiff. I don't know how he's related. He claimed he must give authorization for any. Oh, okay. So apparently he had an agreement between the plaintiff had an agreement with the actor in 1993, 1 year before his death. Okay, that's weird. I hope he's got some documents, but apparently he survived getting this. His case has survived getting dismissed, so there must be something there.
Right. Also, Lunac Heavy Industries, which anytime you hear about heavy industries, you think anime or whatnot, which is is always interesting. This is the first time ever hearing of that company in relation to anything, but I'm sitting here looking up the company now, and um, so because to say about that would make any sense. But yeah, that's wild. I don't know if this is like the first time we're hearing about this, or this has come up before and it's just kind of got to this point.
It's come up before, and I think it's just kind of gotten to this point.
Okay, gotcha. Because I don't recall ever hearing about it, but I would imagine you would be in a different position to possibly.
No, I think it's just come up in our. I have a feeling we've actually spoken about this before.
I don't think we have actually, but I don't know. We could have. Ain't no telling.
There's a lot of news we've covered.
Absolutely, and it's been a long time since Rogue One.
Yeah, exactly.
So. Next up, Batman 2 will include Colin Farrell's Penguin, but not a gentleman ghost, according to the article. Oh, I'm crying right now because of this. Also, that Penguin show is starting up either this week or next week. I still hadn't seen the Batman, so I don't know. But yeah, apparently from Matt Reeves confirmed to some magazine that they're finishing up the script for the Batman Part 2, and the plan is to shoot next year. Still got the Twilight dude in it, and Colin Farrell. I guess unsurprisingly because of the fact of that show that he's in, also with that character, is going to be in the movie. So, because I believe that show is like leading up to that Part 2 or something. I don't know. Or was he in part? Did you watch the Batman? Didn't you?
Yes.
Was the Penguin in that one also?
Yes.
Okay, so it's just additional to both of those, then I guess.
Right. I believe so. Now I'm questioning my memory because it is late at night.
Sure. Either way, he's going to be in the second one. That movie's coming up. I mean, that show's coming up at some point soon in the next couple of weeks. I don't think either one of us will be watching it. I can't.
I mean, I'll try.
Actually, wait.
I'm
September
curious
19th.
because Colin Farrell does a great job at it.
The commercial, the trailer that I've seen for it seems interesting. Without knowing too much more about anything outside of that, because like I said, I didn't see the Batman, so I don't know, what was the deal with the character there. But they're basically, it seems, old school Godfather style from
with Batman villains.
Exactly.
So, yeah, he's in it. I completely forgot.
Okay, cool. But September 19th on Max is when that Penguin thing is going to happen. So yeah, next week alongside Agatha Wallong. Next up.
Sorry. DCU animated series Creature Commandos has a Max release date. So this is part of James Gunn's rebooted DC universe, and it's finally kicking off in December. And the date is December 5th. New episodes then drop weekly on Thursdays, of course, making it harder for us to keep up. Season 1 includes 7 episodes, just 7. Lucky 7, apparently. So it ends on January 16th, 2025.
I don't know if I actually care enough to watch this show. I'm being frankly honest, but we'll see.
I'm willing to give it a shot just to see, how it starts.
All right. Well, then one of us will probably be reporting on it that week. Tom Welling and Michael Rosenberg are developing a Smallville sequel series, but haven't officially pitched it to DC Studios yet, according to this article. So yeah, they were at the Tampa Bay Comic Convention talking and gave fans an update on an animated sequel to Smallville that they both wrote, that they've been developing. Let's see, quote, Tom Welling and I came up with this idea for an animated series, and we pitched it to Al Goff and Miles Miller, who created Smallville, and they loved it. They're behind it, and when it's the right time, we're going to pitch that. We've got some great ideas, and we'd love to bring back all the actors for the voices for the characters. We'll see what happens. We've been trying to get that to happen, but it will take some time, in quotes from Michael Rosenbaum. So, I mean, sure, an animated series probably would be the good way to go, because all of those folks have gotten old enough to not play the teams that they once were when that show, or the teams that they were portrayed in that show. That I barely remember enough of. So stay tuned to see if that happens.
Mhm.
Sir, I'm going to take these next
Yeah.
two.
Great. Great.
So
I was about to say, you object to me? No, never mind.
Objection. Shout out to Phoenix Wright. But the reason why I'm taking this is partially because
It's all Star Trek all the time. Let's just come
basically.
out and say it.
So I should.
But he's being kind in giving me the hot actress story after.
that was unintended, but it probably would have gotten it anyway. So yeah, I should have put this particular article in the show notes last week and talked about it because this was about Star Trek Day 2024, which was September 8th. So it was a couple of days after we had recorded, and they had some things going on, some events going on that day, including a couple in various places according to this article. So like Chicago, Germany, British Columbia. Pluto TV also had a channel set up to where they were playing the first episodes of all of the shows, that's including TAS. So that was interesting, and Lower Decks. So they just basically and Picard actually specifically. So all of the Star Trek shows had their first episode. Actually, excuse me, not all of the shows because that is not Discovery. The one that was on Netflix recently, Prodigy. That they did not do that particular one for whatever reason, but I just happened to be on Pluto TV and checking that out. But the thing that also came out of that, which is the next story, is we have a date for Star Trek Lower Decks season 5, which is going to be the last season, and that premiere date is going to be Thursday, October 24th of this year. And there was also a clip from said premiere that was put out on Star Trek Day, and I did happen to watch this, and it was kind of amusing. It followed one of the characters of Tindy. If you know enough about Lower Decks, you know who that is and what she was getting into. I guess before the season or at the start of the season. So yeah, you can check that out. Here's the poster for, if you're watching the video version. There's a poster for the Lower Decks, and the clip is also attached if you haven't watched it yet because it's out there. And yeah, good stuff. Next up.
Alrighty. Ana de Armas from the Ballerina shares a juicy update on the dangerous and sexy John Wick spin-off. So the movie itself has been delayed by reshoots, but star Ana de Armas says there's nothing to worry about. She recently talked about the upcoming action film with the Collider reporter while attending the Toronto International Film Festival to promote her new historical drama, Eden. So, she's just saying that all they did in those reshoots had to be in the movie. They got amazing footage. It's really spectacular. A trailer is coming out soon. She's been told she saw it and it's beautiful. She's very proud of it. It's exciting. It's dangerous. It's sexy. It's very John Wick. That's good. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, wasn't really sure if that was still a thing, since we hadn't been hearing a whole lot of it. I do like, in this article says that Ron Howard, the director of Eden, of Opie, no, stop, notes that de Armas.
Richie Cunningham.
Well, yes, that too. Notes that de Armas was doing fight training while still working on his film, which de Armas describes as a hard switch, given that it is a historical drama in relation to this John Wick thing. So that's kind of funny. But yeah, and it looks like it's still on track for 2025, June 6th. So
wow, Lance Reddick actually makes an appearance in this.
Yes, that also says
that. Wow.
So yeah, I mean, there's still stuff that's coming out with him in it, apparently, that he's done. Because I saw something else that I think he was a part of that. Somebody was like, "Yeah, this is one of his last roles." So there is that. So next up, which I guess gets me back on track. We kind of talked about this, but we didn't have any actual footage of it. And that is Transformers and Studio Trigger roll out the franchise's nostalgic legacy with a new release. So yeah, excuse me, Studio Trigger put out a promotional video, which is what PV stands for, I found out, for the Transformers. And this was actually within the last few days, now that I think about it, or a couple of days after we recorded last week. And I caught, it's only like, what, 3 minutes, 45 minutes, excuse me, 3 minutes, 45 seconds, something like that. But I only caught a little bit of it because I wanted to watch it on a big screen TV and not on my computer. But, you know, it's Studio Trigger. So the art style was good. And from the few seconds that I see. And yeah, you check it out. It's out there right now. Next up.
Closed it. Sorry. 1 second. I closed, you know, when I was cleaning up my tabs, I closed the article as opposed to actually like clicking on it. You know, it happens, folks. One moment. So I know Roddykat was thinking maybe I should have had this queued up, but I just didn't realize where we were. So about a month ago, fans were able to pre-order the 4K Steelbook edition, 4K Blu-ray, and DVD editions of the award-winning film Godzilla -1. Now it has been confirmed that they will arrive this fall, and Comic Book reports that the collections will include extra goodies and technical specs, which have been unveiled. So yeah, get out there, order. I have not ordered mine yet, so hopefully I can get my hands on it.
Yeah, once again, still worth noting that this is the version that does not have minus color.
Right.
If you want that, $65 Japanese one, collector's edition one. That is $65. I think I just said. So
right.
Just FYI for that. Next up, though, we get into anime corner.
All right. Let's see. Let's find something fun to play.
Bleach 1,000-Year Blood War shows the Core 3 release date. So October 5th is going to be a busy day, apparently. And that is when Bleach 1,000-Year Blood War will return. I say that's a busy day. I don't think I know there is something else that's coming up, but that we just talked about. But regardless, the update comes straight from the team at Studio Pierrot as a new Bleach promo was released in Japan. It was there that fans learned that 1,000-Year Blood War Season 3 will go live on that date in Japan. So I would say probably expect that the next day on Crunchyroll. Or say maybe in a few hours. Well, it'll be the next day on Crunchyroll. But it doesn't say here whether that's going to be the case. But I feel fairly confident it'll probably be on Crunchyroll sooner rather than not. So there you go, folks. Next up.
Spoilers, because the ending of Jujutsu Kaisen, the manga, is fast approaching. It only has 3 chapters left, and there's a lot of stuff happening, and apparently we find out what Gojo's final words are to Megumi and Nobara. And you know what? This whole article is full of spoilers. You know, like this is on my list on the Shonen Jump app of things to read. So, you know, I'd love to get to it sooner rather than later, because I think I've made this joke several times on the podcast, and I know I've done it in person to a lot of other anime people. I think reading the manga is going to help me understand what the hell's been actually happening on the anime. So, maybe. You know, like I understand it like in very broad strokes, but it's, you know, I think I would benefit very much so from reading the manga.
Sure. I mean, they'll probably have stuff that the anime omitted, so that's
right.
Quite possible. popular Shueisha manga ends after 11 years, and that is Twin Star Exorcist. So I didn't know that had been going that long. I had actually heard of this in the anime, but I don't think I ever. Actually, wait, maybe I'm thinking of something else. Either way, I think there was an anime. Oh no, I'm not entirely sure. Let's see. Jump Square just bid farewell to Twin Star Exorcist, according to this article, leaving another gap in Shueisha's catalog that will need filling ASAP. Again, according to this article, the update comes after Yoshiaki Tsukino, the creator of Twin Star Exorcist, confirmed that they plan to end the series by this fall. So apparently, when this article was put out, Jump Square went live with the manga's final chapter and brought Rokuro in Mado's journey to a close. Pardon me. Yeah, the thing's been running for a while, so I'm sure there are fans out there. I don't know of anybody who's ever actually read it or watched it. Next up,
a new Dragon Ball game is releasing next year. So apparently, a 2025 release date for Dragon Ball Project Multi, is coming out in 2025. An exact release date has not yet been set, but based on what people who got to try it in the playtest, people are already eager for it to come back, and they're even a bit surprised at how much they liked it. Okay.
Boo. So yeah, it's basically a multiplayer online battle thing. That is what mobile is called, and I don't care about those. Doing a Dragon Ball one's not doing anything for me, but it's not about me. I'm happy for those.
Or at least not always, right?
Not for MOBAs, no, never.
For mobile games, I see.
No, MOBAs, not mobile games.
Oh, MOBAs, I see.
Yeah, I definitely play mobile games.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so that's that one. Also, actually, in slight relation, there is a Dragon Ball card game that came out in August that I have been actually playing a little bit, and that has been up my speed. So that's been cool. Anyway, now we're going to get over into the comic book news.
Sorry.
Start off with actually something that's not actually comic books. So Alan Moore just wrote a new novel, but that's how it's related, and it's called The Great Win. It's supposedly, according to this article, a first in a quintet, though the book stands on its own well enough, according to this article. It's a magical realist crime thriller set in London after World War II, but the bombed out buildings are not the only backdrop. A whole other London lurks in the background, often referred to as Long London or the Great Wind. Again, win, according to this article. And that just reminds me, something from Rings of Power. There is a certain wizard that showed up last episode that just reminds me of Alan Moore. I was going to mention that to Agent 70.
Okay.
But yeah. So that's every time I saw that dude last week, I was like, that's kind of like a longer bearded Alan Moore. But anyway, so yeah, he's got Alan Moore's got this new book. It is coming out, but yeah, that is a thing if you are interested to look out for. Next up.
Okay. I didn't realize that MOBA stood for Multiplayer Online Battle Arena. You learn something new every day, folks.
I did say that.
Next up, Scott Snyder, in talking to the Casually Comics YouTube channel, talked about Batman, Absolute Batman, DC All In, and more, and showed off the concept of Absolute Batman's cape being programmable, as in being able to take shapes, very much like whatchamacallit. It's it's an extension of the concept from Batman Begins, if you recall, like the electrification of the cape. Like when Lucia says, if you put this electrical current in it, it does this. So
Right.
this is just an extension of that. And he shows off more concept drawing, concept sketches of certain characters.
Right. So basically, does the things that you saw in in TS or probably the movies or whatever that they realized some certain things. I'll put it that way. But yeah, I guess that's cool. I don't know, that whole absolute thing is a curiosity at best. But we'll see when that happens, because that's soon. Spider-Man reveals how he feels about Mary Jane's new love interest. And this is spoilers for, I think, this week's Venom Ward Spider-Man #2. And there's a lot of fucking Venom books out this week and last week. That's ridiculous. But I know there's an event going on, so it's still stupid and ridiculous. So let's see. According to this article, Marvel's Venom War has finally given Spider-Man a reason to let the world know how he really feels about Mary Jane's new romance.
Man, F that guy.
Well, we already know how Agent 70 feels about him, and I slightly echoed that same thing. But apparently, I guess Peter's back in the black suit, Venom suit again, and he and Mary Jane as Jackpot are, I guess, on the way somewhere and talking, and it all comes out. Actually say what he says. I see. And I click this. I love when it happens. Yeah, it goes into it on they show the pages, and I'm not going to get into it, but basically it does show. If you want to check that out, it says here he's trying to be supportive, but it sounds like some things come out. So, but you can check that out for yourself if you want to read that article or if you're reading that book. Next up.
Now I'm gonna have to go look at that book and be annoyed, or hopefully not be annoyed. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man announced for December 2024. So Marvel Comics has announced a new 5-issue series, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, set to debut on December 11th. Writer Christos Gage is joined by Eric Gupster on art, introducing a young Peter Parker, his supporting cast, and some of Spidey's legendary villains. The series acts as a prequel to the upcoming Disney Plus series. Okay.
Yeah. That's how things happen. Actually, I'm sitting here thinking, did solicitations are out for? No. Okay.
December, probably.
I thought I had them in last week, but I'm not entirely sure. Either way, I do see a couple, but I wasn't sure when they come out. So they were either in the show notes or will be in the show notes, one of the two. Regardless, Marvel Halloween Special brings MCU character into Marvel Comics universe. See what they did there. And this is Crypt of Shadows #1, which is an annual anthology one-shot featuring Marvel's mystical, monstrous, and downright terrifying characters, will spotlight supernatural-themed characters from the creepier corners of the MCU, including Agatha Harkness, Scarlet Witch, Blade, and Werewolf and Man-Thing. So, and they also, this article also mentions their MCU counterparts and all of that. Let's see. It talks about that black and white special that happened last year. Apparently the dude from let's see, Season of Monster Hunter, Joshua Jovan, who I believe was in that Werewolf by Night special, is basically going to be in this book, or has a variant cover at the very least. So there you go. And you see Scarlet Witch on the cover and whatever else. So there you go. Next up.
So this was a whammy the same day we heard about James Earl Jones passing away. We also found out, shockingly, that legendary comic book artist John Cassaday passed away at the tender age of 52. Scary stuff. So I actually found out about this in a group chat.
Mm.
that I'm in with a friend of the show at Matt Wang 97, and both of us were taken aback. We were shocked because apparently the member of the group chat had seen it in or on a Facebook post made by Mark Waid, and
Mm.
slowly but surely other tributes started to flow and it hit the socials um, after that. And that helped to not I mean, not that we didn't believe Mark Waid, but it really helped to solidify and confirm what had happened.
Right.
And this particular article published um, on CBR goes through his history, which I was not all that familiar with. I knew of Cassaday once he started doing Captain America in the post 9/11 era, right?
Mm.
Because I was absolutely awestruck by some of what his some of the covers that he did in 2002 on that Cap series, and this article does a great job of showing the first cover for the first issue. And I know that I had this signed by Cassaday when I finally got a chance to meet him, probably within the last 10 years. And um, a lot of people know him from that run that he did of Astonishing X-Men with Joss Whedon in
Mm-hmm.
2004. And I was lucky enough to get the first issue of that signed by Cassaday. So
Yeah.
he did some Uncanny Avengers stuff
Mm-hmm.
in 2012. He obviously did the Star Wars relaunch in 2015
Yep.
with Jason Aaron. He obviously got a lot of looks at because he started doing the interior. He was doing the interiors and then was doing mostly covers after that. Um, but yeah, it was a gigantic shock to hear that he had passed away.
Yeah. Co-creator Planetary. Apparently, he was self-taught,
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting. So, but yeah, that was kind of crazy. So September 9th was a weird day. Like Agent 7 said, Dreamcast anniversary. James Earl Jones died. Cassaday dying also. It was a weird day that day. Through some of this art. If you're watching the video version, you can see some of man's work. I do remember that Uncanny Adventures. Definitely remember the Star Wars. But yeah, there was some. Seen a couple of pieces that people were putting out. It's like he was. Somebody said it was like, yeah, he was like the inventor of the widescreen era of comics or something, or
Yeah,
something
he
like that.
definitely helped to usher that along. He
Yeah.
definitely helped to usher that along.
So, and I think I don't know. I saw something else like Wade was one kind of sort of credited with discovering him, but
Or at least one of the yeah,
right,
exactly, because he helped to push his portfolio along to other creators.
right. Which I saw. I think it's in the other article under this that like yeah, he doesn't want to take credit for that, but he gave us tribute on Twitter or whatnot. So, but sad loss.
Yeah,
Definitely.
rest in power. That's super super sad.
Yeah.
Far too young. Not all that much older than myself and Roddykat. That's one of the
She's very
scariest
much
parts.
not exactly because he's like a year older than me. So yes, very much. Next up though, Marvel teams up two X-Men 97 fan favorites for a major new story. Bishop and Cable again, actually, because they already
Of
had
course.
because they already had a miniseries during or near the end of the Krakoan era. So they're just back at it. And this one's called Timeless. I mean, excuse me, Time Slide.
Oh, of course, because
And
we're going away from Kang, right, for multiple reasons. So it makes sense that they're going into the X corner of the Marvel universe.
right. So, and the timeless thing was not actually a real slip because it is actually a one shot in the vein of timeless. Which if you're not familiar, the last 3 years or so, Marvel's been putting out one shots at the end of the year that pretty much teases stories to come in the next year. I don't. We have joked about Jed McKay's one of Jet McKay's ones saying like, yeah, there's still some stuff that we still hadn't seen from the first one. or whatnot, and he's still kind of building out stuff for this particular one, and the year's almost over. So, but yeah, this is along those lines. In fact, this is that line. This is basically taking over for that. According to this, it's being written by Steve Fox and features art by Ivan Fiorello. Again, like I said, it's a one shot. It was announced on Marvel's website, where they tease that the pair will, quote, that the pair being Cable and Bishop, will witness the devastating fate of the Marvel Universe as they move through time to stop a villain whose plan involves eradicating mutants from history. You know, same old same. All the time travel will give characters a chance to see some of the events Marvel has planned for the next year, like we said. So yeah, it's still that thing. It's just different character they're following along as opposed to Kang. Next up, that's sad.
Chris Claremont has a third X-Men series to follow Wolverine Deep Cut. So he's working on a new 5-issue X-Men comic book series for Marvel that's going to follow up on Wolverine Deep Cut. So Marvel's delays in Wolverine Deep Cut pushed back the announcement of Claremont's new 5-issue limited series. So apparently, according to this article, Claremont remains creatively independent, unaffected by current portrayals in main X-Men continuity. Okay.
There's a story on the side of this site that I saw earlier, and it's kind of silly. A new book called Stanley Lied claims that Stanley lied. That is the title of the article.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. I almost clicked through, but I was like, no, I'm not doing that. Next up, though, Magik headlines her first X-Men solo series. Shout out to our homie Tim Adams. Hopefully he didn't forget us. the man's doing his thing. You gotta love it. The creative team on Magik is writer Ashley Allen and artist German Peralta. Allen recently wrote a Magik tale in X-Men. Oh yeah, that was her or them. I don't know what their pronouns are. X-Men Blood Hunt Magik tie-in, which I still say was pretty unnecessary, but it's okay. And of course, Peralta is known for his recent work, on Black Panther, Loki, and last year's Loki series, and a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, Magik is the next. Well, not the next one, but Magik is also getting a book. Much like mostly everyone else in the in the X-Men corner at this point. Morph is probably going to get one at some point. I hope not, but you never know. That's it. Next up. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Wait. Hold on. Let me see if we got a date actually. 2025. That's it. There's some concept art here, so yeah, you can check that out. Next up.
So Iron Studios is putting together a brand new X-Men 1/10 art scale statue, standing 11.5 inches tall. Gambit is taking a ride on Wolverine and charging up the claws straight out of the opening for X-Men 97. Pre-orders are already live for $269.99. They are set to arrive in the second quarter of 2025, and pre-orders are already up on the Iron online store.
It's bound to happen.
Yep.
We joke about stuff like this, and then it actually happens, and it actually happened. I don't think we specifically foretold this particular one, but yeah,
right.
Nevertheless, Toy Corner, as that article did heralded. Actually, you take this next one.
Sure.
Probably more of interest to you anyway.
I pre-ordered it. Hasbro Marvel Legends Marvel 85th Anniversary Deluxe Odin figure in package images. So yeah, this is already out there to pre-order. It is $59.99. It's a big piece of plastic. It's funny because they did do a Build-A-Figure Odin, which was fine, perfectly fine in scale with the Thor figures and with other figures. But Odin has been portrayed in a couple different ways by several artists, and this is kind of how a lot of people grew up seeing him, especially in the 80s. But Odin has been known to take various forms, very much like Zeus, in a lot of the myths. So this is a form that a lot of people are familiar with, and it's nice to see. It makes him very intimidating, very imposing. So I'm excited to get mine. It's supposed to come, thanks to our one of our sponsors very soon.
This is not the same as the Build-A-Figure, though, correct?
No. This is much bigger.
Gotcha.
This is much bigger.
As I
this seems to be built on the body of the Thanos figure.
Okay. Cool. Next up, hey, IGN has an article about the Uncanny X-Men pinball game that was announced. So if you want to check that out, you can check that out in the show notes. Apparently, it's got all the bells and whistles. That was my joke, not theirs, but it was still stupid. It's okay. But a bunch of characters you'd expect: Professor X, Cyclops, Storm, Colossus, Beast, Rogue, Gambit. The list goes on. The video showcases the playfield, a new danger room design, Sentinel head, as you can see if you're watching the video version, and the pinball game is now available in Pro, Premium, and Limited Edition models, aka the price will go up as you go to each edition. Next up.
Let's see. So this is the Cyberpunk story, right?
No, it's not.
Did you just do that?
No, I did not. I'll take this next one. Yes, you kind of skipped one, sir. Ravensburger announces next Disney.
I apologize because I thought you were gonna save that for yourself because it's a Lorcana thing.
I thought about it for a second, but I was like, yeah, maybe he'll take it, but no.
That's I think my brain jumped to he's gonna grab that one.
But I got hold on. Let me finish this.
As I was looking at some of the football news from tonight.
Of course. Ravensburger announced Azurite C, the next Disney Lorcana set, which hits stores November 15, 2024. It will feature characters such as Chippendale's Rescue Rangers, as well as Big Hero 6. Let's see, and they talk about some of the characters and character cards that are from those that are featured. It's going to be a 2-deck starter, Ruby and Amber and Sapphire and Emerald, and $16 a piece for each one. Separately, I should say. There's booster packs for $6 a piece, and there's the Illuminator's Trove, which is $50. Which is like it'll have some booster packs in it, and so I can think of a couple other things. And there's also a Stitch Collector's Gift Set, which will be available for the holiday season, which will also retail for $49.99 and will come with 4 Azurite C booster packs, a Stitch theme portfolio, and a unique Stitch Alien Buccaneer water foil promo card. So if you're still playing Disney Lorcana, look out for that. Now you can go to the Cyberpunk story.
There we go. It'd be nice. It'd be fun to play as Baymax. I got a kick out of hearing Big Hero 6 being part of this particular expansion. That's pretty cool.
Play him, yeah, or play the card, yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. So after the new Cyberpunk 2077 board game managed to achieve full funding in about 10 minutes, the supporters of the board game didn't stop there. More money kept coming in, so the game added Johnny Silverhand expansion. Okay.
Yes, that is the, for those who don't know, that's the Keanu Reeves character.
Because of course they did.
Mm-hmm. So I need to actually play that game, but I've seen that game played through the video game, not the board game.
Not the board game, right?
Right. So they made a board game off of a video game that is based off of a tabletop game.
I love it. I love it. Let me scroll through this article to see when this is supposed to come out. It's going to cost $59.99, and actually, wait, that's the Silverhand expansion. I apologize. All right. So yeah, it's I don't know exactly when it's supposed to be shipping out, but I guess
we talked about it last week, so I think it's probably I think it's sometime next year. I don't remember.
okay. No problem.
Yeah, but next up, Usagi Yojimbo gets an amazing new figure according to the article from Dark Horse. So the Turtles adjacent Samurai Rabbit is getting a figure. That's me saying that, not the article, but they probably would say something like that. Let's see. Yeah, I guess I did not know Usagi Yojimbo was also 40 years old along with the Turtles. So it's getting a deluxe vinyl figure. You can see it in the pictures I'm scrolling through right now. There you go, in all his splendor. It is going to be 10 inches tall and 8.67 inches wide. The price is, of course, going to be a little steep at $120 and limited to 1,000 pieces worldwide. But you but you can pre-order through Dark Horse Direct if you so and choose to do so. Next up.
Okay, Super 7 announces a new Bare Bones Thundercats Deluxe Lion-O figure. So Super 7 is pulling back the price on some of their Thundercats Ultimate figures by removing accessories and changing the packaging. So that's interesting. So you get an updated sculpt with this new one and only 2 accessories. You get the claw shield and, of course, the Sword of Omens. And you get newer and simpler packaging. So it's a great way to get these figures out to new collectors and fans who do not care about swappable hands and those deep cut accessories. The Thundercats Super 7 Lion-O will be released in October for $35 and will be found in stores and online.
I was going to joke, who are those people?
Yeah, right. That's a good idea, though.
Yeah, totally. Which actually makes me kind of wonder. So if this is $35, how much are the regular figures worth all that other stuff?
No idea.
That's interesting. But yeah, that's the thing. If you're interested in that, Transformers, Autobot, and Decepticon foldable containers from Takara Tomy. So basically, I've seen these type crates before, so this is kind of funny. They just basically made a transfer. If you're watching the video version, you can see it. They just made a they didn't even make it. They just threw Transformers labeling on it. It's basically those
tote, basically.
Yeah, it's what those collapsible those collapsible totes that you've no doubt seen. They just put Transformers stuff. So you got the Autobots logo on one and the Decepticon logo on one. I'll be honest, I would absolutely get one. But it's like you can find those totes probably for cheaper.
Yeah, but they won't have the labeling on it.
But you could put those labels on them.
I know. If you get the right vinyl stickers, I know.
Right. So, but yeah, they're for holding toys, a 50-liter storage box. I don't see a price in here, but it's probably I would say probably add $20 to whatever those totes go for in the first place. That's just me speculating. I don't know. Next up, though.
Okay, so I have mixed feelings about this particular story. Mm-hmm. So the Loyal Subjects, right, who I am unfamiliar with, right, is a company, I presume, and they have signed a deal with Hasbro to bring back legacy brands. So that includes my buddy Jim, right, Jim and the Holograms, My Pet Monster, Popples, Ron the Space Knight, and apparently the oft-requested mask. The Loyal Subjects, when it comes to action figures, is best known for their 5-inch best BST AXN line, which includes figures from licensed brands such as TMNT. So 5-inch, so that's like a little bit bigger than like a G.I. Joe, like a 3 3/4 inch. Mm-hmm. So yeah, but I swear, if it wasn't for the fact that they've already announced the ROM Space Knight Marvel Legends, I still have mixed feelings about this, but I know we've already gotten a tease for the Marvel Legends ROM from San Diego Comic-Con. So I'm okay with this, but I'm still like, why? Why we're getting a Marvel Legends? Just get us the Marvel Legends already.
Yeah, but there's other companies doing other things with things. So
I know.
There's always going to be those off ones. I was going to say off-brand ones, but that's probably more true than
Yeah.
not. I'm looking through their site for some of the stuff so it's the people who are watching the video version.
I'm going to look up these people, the loyal subjects, because that's new to me. So
yeah, I just showed their totals, or one of their total sets that they showed, and I don't know. Look, the ROM Space Knight one is good for Agent 70. The Mask one, personally, is probably more interesting to me, and it's also interesting. All of these are, well, I mean, obviously these are all Hasbro brands, but also of a certain era. Like these are straight up. All of these are pretty much straight up 80s joints.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's funny, but hey, resurgence, man, resurgence. That's going on right now. Anyway, last but not least, Skybound insiders announce G.I. Joe the movie screening with Joshua Williams doing a signing in support of G.I. Joe #1, which is hotly coming in November. That to the side. So yeah. In celebrations of the historic, according to this press release from Skybound, release of G.I. Joe #1, Skybound insiders, in collaboration with leading toy and game company Hasbro. I'm reading this text the press release, and I shouldn't. November 13th, Los Angeles screening of G.I. Joe the movie from 1987. Again, there's going to be a signing with G.I. Joe writer Joshua Williamson. Looks like private AMC City Walk screening will be a thing, with an exclusive Q&A with Williamson discussing the series, the new launches, the series' new launch. Tickets will be allocated to both existing and new insider members who sign up between September 10th, and October 20th of 2024. All screening attendees will be provided with insider exclusive surprises, as well as the opportunity to win additional prizes provided by Skybound and Hasbro. Both existing and new members can go to visit the whatever website to enter a chance to win tickets to the events also. So prior to the screening, there will also be a signing event at City Walk Comic Shop Things from Another World, speaking of, featuring Joshua Williams. The event is open to the public and will feature a store exclusive G.I. Joe #1 variant cover, because of course that you can purchase. Do we I assume Tifa is up there? Is that LA based or something? Where's Tifa?
That's a good question.
And also City Walk Comic Shop. I don't know much about, like, that could be.
Well, I was about to say, isn't City Walk like in San Antonio?
That's what I'm not sure. I am not entirely sure. I have no clue. I figured it was out west, but actually I don't know why going to that site.
City Walk Hollywood. So yeah, it's got to be.
Does it say Hollywood? Okay.
Yeah, Universal City Walk Hollywood.
Or unless that's just one that they have there. But okay.
Either way. Yeah, I'm assuming this is LA-ish.
Yeah. So either way, it's not here. It's not sound like it's up there near you.
Right, it's not in New York either.
So sadly, we'll miss out on that situation. But that seemed like something that might be interesting. And with that, folks, we have dealt you all of the news. We're going to get to one last ad read.
Our last ad read of the night, you know what it is. Before, if we've been going this long, I actually do have a toy corner thing just very quickly. After this, help us keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us and click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment. It helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Do it today.
All right, sir. What you got for us? There we go. Throw it to you.
So every once in a while, you find yourself on Amazon, our sponsor, clicking around and seeing, stuff, maybe cleaning out stuff that you would put into your shopping cart or wish list. And I happened upon a listing for a figure that mentioned, believe it or not, that the packaging was damaged, which explained why the price was a lot lower than the previous highs that I had seen, and which also was not that big a markup from the original price for this figure, which I presume was, I think, 50. So what I've got is the card back Rhino from the retro Spider-Man line. I'm gonna cut off my video virtual background to help showcase this. There it is. And there is Rhino in all his big chunk of plastic glory. Comes with alternate hands and an alternate head. It's a giant, giant piece of plastic. Definitely the correct scale for this giant figure. And I look forward to creating a little diorama with Rhino and all of the Spidey villains. I've done one before, but it always seemed lacking without Rhino, and it's a good thing to have him. So I'm glad to have him. Welcome to the collection, Rhino.
So now you have a complete Sinister Six?
I think I had one before Rhino. There have been obviously numerous versions, but it does help to have Rhino because if I'm not mistaken, he's part of the OG, correct?
I believe that is the case. Yes.
Yeah. So I think I can. This will be the first time I could do an OG Sinister Six.
Cool.
I'm going to Google that right now.
I feel if he wasn't the first one, he's probably. I think he was actually in
one of the earliest, right?
Yeah.
Definitely one of the earliest iterations,
right? So I don't feel bad about saying that. That being said, I keep looking at this G.I. Joe cover and that new character they have. If that turns out to be Bravestar, I'm going to. That's going to be so amusing, like a modern version of Bravestar. But I don't think that's the case. But that'd be very interesting. Anyway, folks. We have.
You know what? You know what? He's not.
He's not.
Ock, Electro, Kraven the Hunter, the original Mysterio, the Sandman, and the original Vulture. So I did already have it.
Oh, okay. So he must have been. Well, he clearly was a later iteration, but probably one that stands out to both of us a little bit more. Okay, well, that's good to know. I'm sure no one would have written us about that, but that's fine. Little fact checking don't hurt nobody.
Exactly. Anyway, it shouldn't.
Well, it definitely shouldn't. Yeah. Well, it hurts some people, but those people are alive. So,
like I said, it shouldn't, but it does some people.
Yeah. It hurts the people that it should hurt.
There you go.
And that being said, folks, we are going to call it here for this here episode. We will be back next week. We will definitely have more Rings of Power to talk about. We will have Agatha All Along to talk about. We will possibly have
Penguin
to talk about also, I guess.
It's going to be a lot of stuff to fit in. That's the hard part.
Yeah, well, if it's worth it. And of course, the news and the books that come out next week. We're just been some beefy weeks the last couple of weeks.
Yep.
So not a complaint, just saying,
You know what it is? It's the start of the fall, Yeah. The fall events are going to start to build up soon,
Yeah. And there's just been a lot of good books too. So I mean, there's definitely not a complaint there. It's just like, hey, stuff you want to read and stuff that's been actually good when you do read them.
Right.
So on that note, folks, let's get out of here. I have been Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Agent_Savage on Twitter, Instagram, and somehow still happening Threads.
Yes.
You could also find us on the Coastal Podcast Network. That's cspn.us.
Do it today.
Yeah, you can also find this podcast on your podcast approved place of choice, whether it be Apple iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal of the Podcast Network's SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that helps people find the show.
And technically also YouTube, but I don't necessarily have that set up like they want you to set up. But hell, you can always go to the Kliq Nation, youtube.com/the Kliq Nation, where you could see episodes, but you can also find us recording every Thursday night on that channel, and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Right. Remember to click like, subscribe, hit that notification button so you know when we are broadcasting live and direct.
Yes. All right, folks. That's it. Go out and play some Marvel vs. Capcom and I guess that Punisher game. And also, man, this is a game called Cannon Spike, but I'll talk to Agent 70 about that after the show. Whether he may or may not care, but that thing's kind of interesting. Maybe there'll be some streams of any of that stuff on this channel. Who knows? We'll see. But this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
And knowing is half the battle.